everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm so excited about today because I get to introduce you to one of my new awesome friends. Her name is Mignon Francois. Don't I just sound fancy saying that? Y'all, Mignon is incredible. She is just a light in this world and bubbling with personality. She makes me seem quiet and very low-key. She is the founder and owner of the Cupcake Collection. She has a location here in Nashville and one in New Orleans, a multi-million-dollar business that she literally started from scratch. You're gonna love her story and love her even more. Check this out. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm so excited because I get to hang out with my very good friend, Mignon Francois. Mignon, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Okay. I'm so excited.
I have talked you up. Ever since you did an interview here at our staff meeting, you are just this light. So for anyone that doesn't know your business and what you do, let's just start with a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am a stay-at-home mom turned baking prodigy of some sort, where I took the last $5 that I had and I gambled on ourselves and turned that into over $10 million in the last 10 years.
Oh, is that all? Okay. We're going to unpack how she did that. Don't worry. Okay, so let's back up. Let's back up to the beginning. Mm-hmm. You went through a really low point, and even as you were telling your story, I so identified with that, not because I've been through something similar myself, but my mom has. So my mom found herself newly single at 33 with a 6-month-old baby and $64 to her name. She had a little bit more money than you did, and trying to figure out how do I turn this money into a life? How do I turn this money into something that we can survive on besides just food this week, something beyond that? And she bought supplies and went and made cakes and then sold them the next day and turned that money into what is now her bakery 35 years later. So I loved your story, but let's go back to like how you got to that point and what was going on in your head, because now you're this great success story, but at that time, you didn't know. You didn't know what lied ahead. You've got babies. How many kids did you have at that point?
At that point, I had 6.
6 kids. Okay, and you have 7 now. And so, and you're broke, and you're like take us back there and what that was like, and what was going through your head in that moment of feeling like you're in survival mode.
Well, we had come to Nashville for a better life,
right?
And then as soon as we got here, the job that we got here for fell through. Last one hired is the first one fired. But I told God when I came to Nashville, God, I want a home for my children. I'm not doing this same thing anymore. I'm not living in apartments for the rest of our lives. I want a yard for them to play and a fence and rooms that they can call their own. And so almost a year to the date, we moved out of that apartment into what would become our forever home. But it wasn't easy and it wasn't cute or simple, right? Because when we got it, my husband, I was married at the time, my husband called me and he said, I found this house, this cute little neighborhood. It reminds me of New Orleans. And he brought me down there to look at the house. And I was like, this is an ugly house. And the place where you're taking me to eat today better be better than this house. And so we went and I saw the people coming out of the houses surrounding this little restaurant. And I said, take me back to that house. And we went inside and we were standing with the floorboards around our knees because we had fallen through the floors. It was condemned.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, take it.
I love it.
And there was a sign outside that said owner financing. And I thought that meant that the owner would just give you the money. Like, I really thought they were giving the house away, but that it was just so bad that nobody really wanted it. And so we called and we were like, we'll take the owner financing.
Yeah.
He's like,
not having any idea what you're saying. Right, sure.
And he was like, it doesn't work like that. And he's like, people want this house. They want to turn it into restaurants and all this kind of stuff. Like, nobody's going to do that.
Right.
And so you should just take my deal. I want owner financing. I don't want to pay you for a year. I don't have any money to give you down, as a matter of fact, because I need every bit of whatever money I'm going to get to renovate this condemned property. And he was like, get your life. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But some time went by and they actually ended up calling us back and said, hey, you still interested in the house? You mean the one that everybody's going to buy? Like these people
people lined up? Yeah, sure.
Want to put restaurants in? Yeah, we're still interested. And so he called us down to talk about working on some other houses for him in exchange for the sweat equity on this house. Now, he's not going to give us any money.
Yep.
But I'm going to give you sweat equity towards the $10,000 you need to buy this house, and then then I'll owner finance it for you. but we didn't have a job.
Right.
Because last one hired is the first one fired. And so it's like, yes, we'll take it.
Yeah.
We didn't know how we were going to eat, though.
Right.
We just believed that God wasn't surprised about this, and that if this was our house, he was going to make a way. And so we showed up with our kids to start renovating that first property that they gave us to work on. And by the end of the 4 weeks that it took us to do it, he had paid us $8,000 in cash for our family to take care of us. When he made it clear he wasn't giving us anything.
Sure.
So it's like when you follow in obedience what God tells you to do, he's responsible for the outcome. And that's the thing that I've learned over the whole process of doing the cupcake collection. And any story that I hear, all these women begin to come and tell me about how they want to start. And that has been my life's work now, Christy, to do what it is. As I believe that I want to show other women what they can do if they believe. And that's what I'm using my mouth for. That's using my energy, my time, my gift, my talents for. And so it took us 4 weeks to flip that house for them. And we got the property. We moved into it. It was 2 rooms and a half bathroom. And the half bathroom was a toilet and a tub. My children didn't complain about the fact that we had plywood floors. I mean, they were happy that we were together. And I don't think that they knew that we were broke.
Yeah.
And that's a word that I won't even allow my children to really say, you know, and it's something that we don't really use in our family because broken has nothing to do with the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they didn't know that we were broke.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money, and our situation was dire. And my husband and I were going through a time where, you know, the economy was tanking, and one of the biggest things that makes marriages fail is finances.
That's right.
And so we didn't have any.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have much work either.
Right.
And so I prayed. And I said, God, give me something that I can do to help my husband make ends meet. Because to me, he looked like death. And when you're really close to someone, as you are when you have a spouse, you can read them.
Right.
You know, like I could see it underneath his skin.
Yeah.
Like he looked like death to me. But I didn't know that he wasn't dying. He was dying to me. That our relationship was dying, and that God was resurrecting something new in me. And I'm not an advocate for divorce, you know, in any kind of way, but everybody has to want to work for it, right? And so when you find yourself in a position where after 21 years of marriage, my husband says, I want a divorce. And even in that, we still opened the cupcake collection together because it was like, what do I have?
Right.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
I have taken care of your children.
Right.
My life has been you.
Right.
And our home. Now what am I supposed to do? I had a degree, you know.
Right.
And I had used my life to raise our family.
Yeah.
What about me?
Right. Right.
And so he said, I'll stay with you to open this business. And that's something most people don't know. We knew when we opened that business together that he was staying long enough to get me on my feet.
Wow.
And so even through that, we sort of mended ourselves back together for a time, but it just, you know, it just didn't end up working out. But what we did was I heard God say, make cupcakes. When I asked God, I was trying to help him.
Right.
I didn't know that God was going to turn around and use it to help me.
Right.
And so I was listening to Dave Ramsey every day. I grew up in a household where we listened to NPR, you know, and on the way to school every morning with our mom, we would hear the rest of the story. We would listen for the rest of the story. And I was kind of looking for something like that when I discovered Dave Ramsey. And I heard the first time I stopped on the radio station, I heard them screaming, we're debt free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I got so much joy on the inside of me. I wanted that.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, turning up the radio, what are they saying?
Yeah.
And what are they talking about? And they were going off the air. And I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
And I was panting for some of that because my mother had raised us to be debt free. I mean,
Yeah.
she taught me financial responsibility. She taught me that the borrower was slave to the lender. And I remember having my first credit card when I was 15 and getting punished because I couldn't pay the bill out completely when the bill came in. So not only did she take my credit card, she took everything I purchased with it, and she took my paychecks until they were paid.
Wow.
So I understood what it meant to
Sure.
lose my stuff, and I never wanted to lose my stuff again.
Yeah.
But here we were. I was listening to him, and I was waking up every morning at 3:17. And what I want people to know is sometimes when you get up in the morning and you think it is that you're turning off the stove or you want to check the doors. For me, I wanted to make sure my children were breathing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of moms feel that way.
Yeah.
And I turned on the TV one morning because I couldn't go back to sleep. And Wayne Dyer was on the TV, and he was saying, the morning breeze has something to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. And I was like, that sounds crazy.
Right.
You're getting off my TV.
Yeah.
And so it's 3:00 in the morning. I'm looking for my remote. He says it again. And now I'm looking high and low.
Yeah.
And he says, God is trying to talk to you. And this is the only time you'll be silent. And I was like,
well, that's true. My kids are asleep. This is the only time that it's going to be silent in my house. That's
and
valid.
I was like, I can relate to that because
that's
I
right.
know God.
That's
right?
right.
And so I sit down and listen. He says, the thing you're getting up every morning for, that's not what it is. And I was like, whoa.
He's speaking to me. That's right. I love it.
And so he said, now that you know that you're getting up for a purpose to hear God, it's going to be hard. Took me about a week after following his instructions to put my feet on the floor and show up in my living room one morning at 3:17 with the Lord. God, I'm here. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I don't really know how to hear you. I really don't know what you sound like. And if you come in here right now, God, please don't, because I'm
scared out of my mind. That's right.
Right. I don't want you to show up, but I really kind of want you to show
That's
up.
Right. That's right.
And so I did the only thing I knew how to do. I saw my Bible sitting under the coffee table, and I grabbed it and I opened it to wherever it would fall. And it fell on chapter 3 of this particular book. And I ran down to 17 and I got my first word from the Lord.
Wow.
And I began to search feverishly then through the Bible in every chapter 3 that there was, in every verse 17. And I would read on until it didn't apply anymore.
That's right.
Until I read the whole entire Bible that way.
Wow.
And I think it was about 6 weeks that once I knew what I was getting up for, that, I had seen God say, write the vision, make it plain. So I got me a journal. I started writing everything that I was reading. And he began to lay out for me all of the things he wanted me to know. That he loved me, that I was good enough. Because I was broken, Christy. Like, I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think that I would ever be able to finish anything because I had really great ideas, but I never would finish them.
Yeah.
I would always start, but I would never finish. I've learned in the process, and God will give you so many things as you go and follow him, and you think what you're getting up every morning to actually effectively make happen is the goal, but God has something else because his ways are not our ways.
Right.
I know how to start. My ministry is not necessarily in finishing, but I learned that there was a positive spin on that I could help people get started. In that time, God gave me a plan. And then when he gave me that plan, one of the last verses that he said to me was, listen, choose life, Mignon. I lay before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life. So I realized that I had a responsibility in this. This was the last thing God was going to give me.
Yeah.
This was the last idea that he was going to watch me start and not follow through.
Yeah.
And, because even though I'm not a finisher, there's still a way not to leave it on the side of the road, right? Just, I'm not
There's
doing that anymore.
There's a stewardship element to this. That's
like
right.
you can package it and give it to somebody else, or you can say this. You can write about it and teach it to someone. I mean, you're not supposed to just leave things on the side of the road.
Right.
And that's kind of like how I was doing it. And I learned at 3:17 in the morning that God had chosen me for something, and he was not playing with me, that this was going to be my life, and I could go to the left or I could go to the right. And I decided to choose life. And so in choosing life, I heard Dave Ramsey say, you could have a bake sale, And I thought you could have a bake sale every single day.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know how to bake.
Right.
Not even
minor
out of a
detail.
box.
Whatever. Sure. We're going to unpack that. Don't worry.
And he said, but you have these 2 little girls, and they can. But as we got started, my oldest daughter let me know, hey, Mom, I have a plan, and it really doesn't
It doesn't involve you and these cakes. Hey, I can relate to her. As my mom tried to pull me into the fold, I was like, my dreams don't involve icing. Thank you. I grew up with icing. Yeah.
And she wanted to go back to New Orleans. And so without her, my baby daughter wasn't interested. So now I got to learn how to bake.
Yeah.
We had all these culinary books in the house. My husband was passionate about baking and cooking and food because we're from New Orleans. And so he wouldn't help me. He's like, they got books in there. You know, I was like, fine. I had this secret weapon, my grandmother. My grandmother would be who the movie The Help would have been made about, right?
Okay.
She left her children at home while she went to take care of another family.
Okay.
But every day there was food, and every day there was cake. And what I loved about going to my grandmother's house was eating. And I love when grandma would come because there would be food. Because my mother didn't cook.
Sure.
I mean, she's a great cook, but she's not happy about it, right? And so I would snap beans with my grandmother. And God says, honor thy father and thy mother that your days may be long on the land. And here's what I realized. Long doesn't always mean time. Long could mean abundant, right? So that it be well with you. And so I think that God honored all the time that I spent with my grandma because I love that chick. You know?
Yeah.
I hang with her.
You didn't even know at that time what that was how that was gonna play out in your life.
I call her on the phone before unlimited long distance.
Right, sure.
And my mom's like, look, 5 minutes. That's it. That's all I can afford to give you. And we made a deal. If you will make the food, I will wash the dishes because I hated washing dishes. My mother hated to cook. This was when I was 17, living at home in New Orleans. And I said, fine. Called my grandmother, told her what we're going to do. She's like, all right, this is what you need to get. Well, here I am. I've learned how to cook long distance with my grandmother with phone. So 17 years later, I need to do something in the kitchen. Who am I going to call?
That's right.
I'm going to call my grandmother.
That's right.
And I said, Grandma, I need to make a cake. She's like, open up your hand. Pick this much flour up, pinch your fingers together, measure to this first line. I mean, that's the way she told me how to do it. But standing there looking at everything my grandmother gave me on a piece of paper, I got my first successful thing that I ever baked.
Yeah.
I learned God wanted to create this with me. While I couldn't bake well out of a box even. I mean, you just add the things that they say.
2 eggs is all you need, some oil.
It's going to come out. It doesn't come out from me. And he was teaching me that I was going to have to depend on him.
Take me back to this season of the Lord is speaking to you at 3:17 in the morning. When did you get the idea? Was it the Dave Ramsey bake sale? You could have a bake sale. Was that when cupcakes entered your mind?
I don't know.
When did it turn into the cupcake idea?
I think it became cupcakes because I was trying to bake cakes, and I couldn't decorate them.
Okay.
And I didn't have the skill to do that.
So let's talk about that season right there. Like you have an idea, you're trying to do something. It's not turning out great.
Yeah.
And you need something to work for you. You need a business, you need a plan, you're trying to provide for your family. Why did you not think, oh, this isn't for me, I should do something else? What made you press through and say, I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to follow through, that type of thing. Like, talk me through that. Because I think a lot of women watching and listening are facing challenges and they're having trouble discerning, do I push through this challenge and find a way to make it work? Or is this just a sign I'm not cut out for this? I should actually do something different. So take me back to that because that's difficult, I think, sometimes to know the difference.
I think for me, I really understood when I read that Bible verse, choose life, that I really thought I was going to die. I thought it was over for us. And I was tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
It's one thing to be sick, but then to be sick and to be tired, that's just drained. And I was drained of not having enough. I heard some rap lyrics.
Oh, let's have it. Bring it. Okay, I'm ready for this. We got Jesus and rap music. You are my kind of girl. Here we go.
I think So I heard this song that has been touted as one of the best rap collaborations of all time. Jay-Z
Okay.
and Kanye West.
Okay.
The song is called Otis. And I'm listening to this rap song, and Kanye says, they ain't see me. Because last week, I was in my other Benz. This time, I was in my other Benz. And I'm like, hold on a second. He has options, and they're luxurious. And I don't have a car.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's just like, why is it that Jay-Z and Beyonce and Kanye and Lil Wayne have all this abundance? Are they more loved by you, God? Like, do they have more of your favor and I don't?
Mm-hmm.
And I started realizing that there was something that was required of me, and that was work.
Okay.
Because Adam and Eve, when they went into the garden, and I discovered Rabbi Lappin on your show.
Yep.
And I started following and reading his book, and I learned this concept that they probably had the best digs of all time. I mean, you can't get a better house than the one that Adam and Eve had.
Right.
But yet work was required of them. God said, go work.
It is good. That's right. The work is good.
And
right.
I think that that's what I realized, that you think that when an idea comes to you, it should just happen.
Right.
But overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that it takes 10 years, because you got to learn all of the pieces, and you got to get humble. You got to be grateful for where it is that you've been in order to get more.
Yeah.
And it takes time for that revolution to happen.
Yeah.
And I learned that work was required of me, and I had to do the work.
Okay, so I think this is huge. I want to camp here for a second, because I think it's incredible that you can look at someone that is a famous, a celebrity, rich, name all the things. But let's even take a different example. Let's say it's not Beyonce and Jay-Z. Let's say it's someone in your neighborhood and they're wealthy and they have a lot of money. I think a lot of people would look at that, whether it's Jay-Z or someone in your neighborhood that drives a Benz or whatever, and they would think, well, they just got a lucky break. Well, they have all this help. Well, they have, it's family money. And what's amazing to me is you saw that as personal responsibility to respond to the opportunity, to do the work that would be required to reap the fruit that you wanted in your life, where so many people are stuck, and they've been stuck, Mignon, for 5, 10, 30 years. Like, well, I don't know why I'm stuck. Well, everybody else just has it easy. Everybody else fill in the blank. And they take a victim mentality. And if you have a victim mentality, you will get victim results.
Exactly.
And I love that you saw this. And someone as elevated as Beyonce and Jay-Z, which are so removed from you and I in real life, and you didn't see that as, well, of course, they're famous, they're rich, all the things that would be true.
Yeah.
They got 16 nannies, whatever. Like, if I had that, that would be so easy to say, but instead you thought, no, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do some work required. You know, this is funny. This is a random sidebar here, but recently I put a thing on Instagram, actually about Beyonce and how much she practiced and worked. Like, she rehearsed
8 hours.
Months.
8 months for 2 hours.
For 2 hours. 8 months for 2 hours. And there were a lot of people like, oh, that's so encouraging. And there were a couple people like, well, yes, she has lots of help and she's not a great example. And I'm like, there's anybody that you can find fault with or you can learn from. And there are people that you can pull their work ethic. You can, you know, if someone's rocking it at their marriage, I want to go learn from them. It doesn't mean they're perfect and everything. I may not go to Beyonce to teach me about Jesus. That's fine. But I can learn from her work ethic, right? Like, you can learn something from everyone. If someone's rocking it in an area of their life in business, I'm going to go learn business from those people that are rocking it. And I just love that that was your takeaway. I just want to commend you. Like, that was your takeaway in that moment, where it would have been so easy to be like, well, that's them, that's not me.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
here's one of the things that I know is that Jesus taught in parables because they were relatable.
Right.
That you could remember a story. And so that's why it works to tell my story or to tell other people your story, because they can see themselves in it.
Right.
Well, here's the aha moment I had the other day.
Okay.
Rap songs are modern day parables. It's just who is delivering it.
Right.
What is the message?
Right.
Because God can use a donkey
That's right.
to speak to you.
That's right. And he has.
And he has.
Right.
And he will. And so it's like, what are you listening to? my mother told us that we were great. I mean, she was the biggest cheerleader. So I think that I always had this greatness living on the inside of me. And when I was a little girl, I knew I was going to be famous. Like, I don't want that to sound arrogant or anything, but like, I always knew I was going to be famous. I didn't know what it was going to be for. But this is why. Because I believe that God didn't waste my fabulous name on nobody knowing it.
That is a fact. That name needs to be in lights. It's a great name.
I was like, this is a fabulous name and people need to know it. So I have to do my due diligence to make my name great.
Yeah.
So all of that was living on the inside of me. And yeah, I didn't just have the example of Beyonce, because remember, I told you about a condemned house that I moved in.
Right.
But it was in an affluent neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, where everybody that was rich was buying up all these properties that people in my community couldn't afford to buy.
Right.
And I was like one of the few that happened to have this blessing fall upon me. God says,
because you said owner financing, it's free. I mean, no one else knew that that's what that meant. You took advantage of that opportunity.
But God said, I will open you a window of heaven and pour you out a blessing. That there will not be room for you to receive it. I believe that. And here's the thing. If God is a man that he could not lie, then if we know what the promises are, all we have to do is repeat them back to him. It's just like with your kids. Mommy, you said, Mommy.
Oh, they'll tell you what you said.
Oh, yeah, they
Carter
will
will not let me forget what I said.
But we don't do that to God.
Right.
God has told us certain things, and it's science. It will work for you if you apply it.
Yeah.
And I just got it in my heart. My neighbor across the street was a huge supporter of me. She lived in this big, gigantic mansion, just two of them, her and her husband. And it's just like, I got all my kids over here.
Right.
We don't have running water half the time. We don't have electricity some of the time. And my kids never went around saying, we don't have anything.
Right.
There were many days that they went to school and they had to eat breakfast and lunch at school because our dinner is not sure. We're going to eat, but we were what is more commonly known in Middle Tennessee as the food insecure, meaning that you're gonna eat, but you're not sure what, and you're not sure what time. There were many days we ate at 10 o'clock at night because that's when something was killed to bring home to eat. But they never complained about that. And I feel like I learned at 3:17 in the morning that your reward is based on how you go through the problem.
That's
that
good.
Your provision is based on the way that you travel through the problem. I didn't want the Poor Me Award.
Yeah. Even your attitude with the plywood floors. Like you're like that. I love that you're talking about that because that matters. I think a lot of people in business or in life, they are in a season of difficulty, small beginnings, unimpressive starts, and they're like, poor me.
Yeah.
I only have 200 followers. Poor me. It's like, if you're not faithful with the 200, God's not going to give you 2 million. So it's like, if you don't have the right heart, the right spirit, the right gratitude, the right humility, the right work ethic with the 200 followers, with your humble beginnings, with your unimpressive, terrible first keynote that you ever did, or your first product, your first cake that just sucked and no one wanted to eat. If you're not faithful with that, he's not going to give you more to be ungrateful and unhappy and joyless about. So I just love your attitude and your spirit through all this because there's such important lessons. I think so often in business, we think, oh, I just need the business steps. It's like, no, you need the character.
Yeah.
You need the steps, but you need the character to carry you through those steps first. And I just love these takeaways that you're like, I didn't want the poor award. I didn't want that mindset.
Because I heard God say at 3:17 in the morning that when you're fasting, I sort of took it from that Bible verse. When you're fasting, don't go around telling people and walking around with a long face. And I thought that probably applies to everything else that you're going through. Like, don't walk around saying, "Oh,
poor me, I'm so pitiful."
Nope. Everybody has their own challenges. You don't know what those are. But if you can be grateful for where you are, like you can't get more until you're grateful for what
biblical.
it is that you have.
That's right.
And so I think that was the thing that changed my life because I think I was bitter.
Yeah.
I was a bitter woman. But I learned this wonderful lesson as I've been able to go around and speak to people. Doors have been open for me. And Dr. Jackson taught me this wonderful concept that none of us know our first name.
What do you mean by that?
And so it's like this, hi, I'm Mignon.
Christy, nice to meet you.
Hi, Christy. But if you were to say it in a sentence, how would you say it to me? If you're going to introduce yourself to me, and I said, hi, I'm Mignon.
Hey, I'm Christy Wright. Nice
to meet you. Yeah. I'm Christy Wright. Nice to meet you. there's something similar about my name and your name. We both did the same thing. When I stuck my hand out to introduce you, you said the same thing that I said. And so I learned that on the day that I was born, my parents gave me a gift. That was my name. And that's because they wanted me to individually be recognized as I went throughout the world. And sometimes we're arrogant to believe that we place those names on our children when, in fact, those are funneled to us from the Lord. In the Bible, we see all these examples where God told people to name their children things, and they knew that those names came from the Lord. But now we're so far removed from God that we don't realize that God is still telling us what to name our children.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all Kimberlys wouldn't act the same.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so my parents gave me a name because they wanted me to know who I was and to stand out as an individual. And then they gave me something else. They gave me their name so that I would know whose I was.
That's right.
So when I went into the street, if there was another Mignon, they would be distinguished that this is my Mignon. This is the family that I come from, so that I would know whose I was. But God also gave me something on the day that I was born. He gave me his name so that I would know that he would never leave me, that he would always be with me, and that is I am.
I love that.
The word of God says, who do men say that I am? We're all these, he's all these people.
Yeah.
He's living on the inside of all of us.
Yeah.
And, there's a Bible verse that says, tell them that I am sent you. And so when I say I am, I put on the first part of my name.
Oh, I love
so that
this.
I know that all things are possible for me.
That's right.
And when I think about the word impossible, it's just a contraction that says I am possible.
That's right.
That means that there's nothing that's impossible with God.
I love that.
And so God is always with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. And he's given you that promise to carry with you everywhere you go, even when you just speak your name.
Yeah, I've never heard it put that way. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love, because I think so often Christine Kane talks about this, but so often we understand intellectually God is the creator of the universe and anything is possible with him, and we completely disconnect ourselves from that as that lives in us. That lives in us all day, every day, that power, that spirit. And so I just love, I am. I love it. I'll never introduce myself the same way again. I love it. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to talk specifically about belief, because we're talking about that in this show. And this is one of those things, even as you tell your story, like you believed. Maybe you didn't believe in yourself every single second. Maybe you didn't believe in your circumstances, but you always believed in a hope for the future, this idea of choosing life. And I think that when you're in a hopeless situation, when your house is condemned, you're falling through the floors, you don't know how to bake out a box, and the box that you did bake was not good, you got $5 to your name, like, how do you believe and how do you maintain belief? What keeps you anchored when you're going through those seasons where you don't have any proof around you that the future is good, that God does have a plan for you, that you don't have any signs or indications of how it's going to work out, where you're standing in front of the Red Sea and God has brought you to this impossible place.
Yes.
How do you have that faith that carries you through? Let's talk about that.
I've seen him do it. I always love to teach about this. There is a Bible verse, Hebrews 11:1 says that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And what I love about that is one day I was sitting reading the Bible. Like, you have to know the promises in order to apply them. Like, when you get in your car, you believe that it's going to start.
Right.
I believe that when I go and turn on the light switch, the lights are going to come on. These are things I believe because I've seen them happen. I've seen God perform in my life. I've also seen him perform in other people's life. And I was like, God, what makes them better than me that you should give them more than you've given me? But I've got 7 children. I know I can't treat them all the same.
Right.
So the Bible says, according to your faith, be it unto you.
Wow.
So the same thing goes for people, mothers could understand this. I can't treat Johnny the way that I treat Ashley, because Ashley wants to stay after school. She wants to be on the cheerleading squad. She wants to join, the 4-H club. She wants to do all this stuff. So I've got to change my schedule around, do all this stuff for Ashley, because this is what Ashley has worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Johnny just says, Mom, can you make sure that I have snacks because I'm going home?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And all I have to do is make sure that there's a roof over Johnny's head, and Johnny is set and he's over here.
Thank God we all have some Johnnies in the family, right? Like, it's like, mamas are tired. We need a Johnny here and there. That's my Carter. Yeah.
But it's according to Ashley's faith.
That's right.
That as her mom, I have to show up for her.
That's right.
And do the things that she needs me to do as her mother.
That's good.
And I think that that's the way that God is. God says, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and does what? Opens it.
That's right.
Like, the door is not going to be open for you. You must open the door.
Right.
So work is required of us. And I think that that's what I realized, that it wasn't that they were more special than I was. It wasn't that they got a lucky break. It was like, what is the work that they put in? I started asking people, what did you do to get here? Mm-hmm. I began interviewing people like, why is it that you're here? Yeah. What did you do? And I started realizing some of the most successful and wealthy people came from some of the lowest.
I was going to say, I would be willing to bet that when you interviewed these successful, wealthy people, none of them said, I don't know. It was an accident. Yeah. I just woke up here one day on the mountain. No one said that, right? No one said it happened overnight. Yeah. It was easy, it was fast, and it was accidental. Yeah. No one said that. And we have this myth, because what's amazing is when we completely remove successful people from the work required that got them there, then it gives us an out. Mm-hmm. Well, if it's out of your control, then it's out of my control. Mm-hmm. Poor me. I can just sit here and feel sorry for myself. But when you start to see, we live in a world where you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And there is the parable of the talents. When you are faithful with a few things, you will be entrusted with many things. And so I love that, because even as you did research, you start to see there's a pattern. Mm-hmm. And God is a God of patterns. Yeah. Like, you start to see this pattern. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, work is required. Yeah. Dave Ramsey tells a great story that I love. I'm probably going to mess it up, but it's kind of a parable story about how a wealthy man was walking along a road, and he passed this beautiful farm. Like, imagine a plantation with perfectly manicured fields, and the landscaping, and the house was painted, the fence, everything was immaculate. Mm. And the farmer was out working the field, and the businessman came along, and he said, oh, wow, farmer, God has blessed you. Mm-hmm. God has blessed you with this beautiful, immaculate farm. And the farmer said, yes, he has. And you should have seen what it looked like when he had it to himself. Isn't that? It's like, it's us and God. Yeah. It's like, God will bless you and work the fields.
Mm-hmm. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So if you want to activate the heart of God, you got to get on his level. Yeah. Because God emptied out heaven for you that you might have life more abundantly, or to the full.
Right.
And so if God emptied out heaven for you, and you expect to do mediocre things, but then you want God to give you great and amazing blessings, it doesn't work that way. Yep. But when you activate now faith, you become on the same level of what he invested. Now faith is not having any evidence that what I believe is going to work. Now faith doesn't test it. Now faith doesn't know that when I get in my car, I'm going to turn this thing and it's going to start up and it's going to go. I've seen it happen. That's right. Faith will allow you to believe in something that you've seen happen before, but now faith doesn't give you any warning. Mm-hmm. Now faith just says, hey, I believe that this will work, so I'm going to start doing it right now. Yeah. When you activate your now, you activate all you own, which puts you in line with what God said, I invested in you. Yeah. I invested everything in you. So now you're investing everything in God, because you're giving him back all that you have, and all that you have is right now. You don't wait to say, well, God, I'm going to wait until you give me the money.
Right.
I'm going to wait until I graduate from college. I'm going to wait until my children grow.
I'm going to wait till I'm ready.
Yeah. There's a study that says that 98% or 95% of Americans are waiting for some big major event to happen before they start living. But this says, I will live right now. Right. And when you OWN, you're NOW, what happens? You WON. Mm. And that's what I realized. Mm-hmm. It was about perspective, that when I activate everything I got, God says, okay, now you're serious. Mm-hmm. Because I was serious about you, so I gave you everything I had. So give me everything, and then you can start asking me for more. I think that God wants to do more stuff. He wants to give us more stuff.
Right.
But you know what we keep asking him for? Simple things that he's like, I'm not doing that for
Yeah.
you. I gave you the ability to tie your shoes, just like the farmer.
Right.
You know, you can you imagine what it looked like when he
Right.
had it by himself?
Right.
Like, he gave you the opportunity. He gave you your hands. He gave you a mind. He gave you vision to be able to work something. That's why where there's no vision, people perish, because you can't see where you're going. You don't
There's
know
no hope. There's no
what to do with it.
Yeah.
But God gave you the ability to tie your shoes, so you don't get to ask him, God, can you tie these shoes for me?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not doing that.
That's right.
Ask me for something more.
That's right. Try again. I love this theme of how we've even come full circle to faith, because even I did Devo for our company where we do devotional once a week. And so in January, a couple years ago, I did this. And I was teaching from Matthew, and I'd never seen this correlation. I'd always seen a cause and effect in Scripture of because of your faith, you've been healed. Because of your faith, I will bless you. Because of your faith, because of your faith. Hebrews, the whole chapter of 11 is by faith, by faith, by faith, Sarah, by faith, Abram, by faith, And so you start to see this correlation between faith and then God rewards that. God blesses that and honors that. But in Matthew, there's a story where the disciples couldn't drive out a demon-possessed man, and they came to Jesus. Jesus drives out the demon, and they asked Jesus afterwards, like, hey, why couldn't we do that? And he said, because you had so little faith. Yeah. So there's also the opposite cause and effect of when we have a lack of faith, like you're saying, when we're sitting here going, oh, poor me, or God, I don't know if you can do that. I'll wait till this circumstance gets changed, and then I'll live my life. God's not going to bless that. Yeah. He's not actually going to bless that. So I love it. Oh, Mignon, I could talk to you all day. I told y'all, she is a firecracker. I just love your story. I love your heart. I love how Jesus just shines through you, through the words that you share, through the insights that you have. And you are leading this amazing business that people love the cake. You have refined the recipe to these amazing, really cool recipes. We were talking about, what was it? Jack and Coke. Yeah. Jack and Coke cupcakes. Who doesn't want one of those? But I remind women all the time, they think there's this separation between business and the marketplace, a for-profit, secular marketplace business, and their faith. I'm like, no, God is in your business, because God is in you and you are in your business, and you are such an example of that. Tell people, for anyone in Nashville or New Orleans, where they can find the cupcakes.
So we are at thecupcakecollection.com. We're on Twitter as Cupcake Tweets. We're on Facebook and Instagram as The Cupcake Collection. So those are all the places that they can find me. Or if they just want to talk to Mignon,
there you go.
I'm Mignon.Francois on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And now you can check out this next video.